Hey everybody, it's your girl Lita from My Natural Me, and it is Tuesday Tips, but we are actually kicking off something that you're going to be seeing a whole lot more of, and that is these little video snippets where we're bringing you information that can help you, all in line with my mission to honor, empower, and refresh. So, let me explain who I have here with me, which I'm super excited. I have Stacy, who is with State Farm Insurance. She owns her own practice. She's an entrepreneur. She's a legacy builder and a whole bunch of other things. So we're going to be chatting today. Stacy, I'm so glad you could join me for today's tips.
Thank you, Lita, for having me. That was quite an introduction. So I'm glad to be here to share tips with you guys.
Absolutely. So we're just going to have a good conversation here because, as we know, everybody, obviously, 2020, need we say more, right? But, we're thinking, everybody now is thinking about, okay, going into the new year. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of things that are still pretty much the same as they have been in 2020. So you and I wanted to have a conversation, securing our legacy, right? And making good choices. I think as everybody thought about going into 2020, we all made these plans and we were going to secure our coins and get our coins and start that business and do all these amazing things. And most of us have had to pivot, and most of us just things were not what we expected. So what I wanted you to do today is to really share some tips that can help us no matter what things happen around us. What are some good tips that we can take with us into 2021 that can help us to feel a little bit more either financially secure or just protecting our legacies? And you are an expert in that. So once again, let's first maybe talk about life insurance. What do you think?
That's a great one, Lita. Everybody had 2020 vision, right? So yes. The vision looking backwards is quite different than what many of us expected. And so what I did see become a popular social statement, and the hashtags about it are everywhere, are things like leaving a legacy. You talk about it in your book, pictured there behind you. Generational wealth, Black wealth. But in theory, they're very popular, but in actual practice, people often don't have a working knowledge of how to really achieve those goals. Sometimes they don't even know where to start, like who to talk to. Many don't think of their insurance agent who does their auto insurance as somebody who can help them plan for their future and leave a legacy. And you brought up is life insurance is a program that can instantly change someone's future. Sadly, the cause that it pays out is something that has instantly changed someone's future too. But that's an inevitability for all of us, no matter what. You may never have a car accident, but all of us, are going to, eventually pass away. So you can instantly create poverty, or you can instantly reduce or eliminate. You can instantly create wealth, but you can also instantly reduce or eliminate poverty on the behalf of the loved ones that you leave behind. And so you had a post in this series a few weeks ago, and you talked about generational curses and maybe we should look at how we think that through and generational blessings. It's hard to learn things that our parents didn't teach us. So they didn't know how life insurance worked. They don't teach it in school. And most people feel like, oh, I have that through work. But your employer doesn't care more about your family than you do. They
Wait a minute, now, say that again? For the people in the back.
For the people in the back. Your employer doesn't care more about your family than you do. They shouldn't. So the amount that they pick for you or the kind they pick for you is already predefined based on this large group of people that you happen to be employed with. That has nothing to do with you and your individual family, whether you have 3 children or 1 child or no children or a child with special needs that will need help financially for the rest of their life. Those are things that you have to think about when you're considering how much life insurance you should have or whether you should have some more. And if 2020 hasn't taught all of us that things can change in a moment, I don't know what will. I don't know what will. So if people are looking for a way to have a conversation about it, it's not as complex. You don't need a college degree to understand it. I have clients of, very advanced degrees, but they still don't understand the basic concepts of how it works, how much they should have. So it's just certainly something people should think about, like for as little as, I don't want to get into the, the nuances of it because I'm not, I'm not talking to an individual and assessing their needs, but for less than $25 a month, or, it sounds trite, but that, for the price of a cup of coffee, you could have life insurance. And I won't throw out any face amounts because that's up to person's age and their health and their need. But for the price of a cup of coffee a day, you could have life insurance that'll protect your family and really help you leave a legacy, generational wealth. Unless you have that number with commas and zeros in your bank account already, a quick way to do it is to spend that few dollars a month and leave something to your family on that day, God forbid, when something tragic happens to you and your family.
Yeah. And while we're talking about it, so many people probably have the question, well, with the pandemic, how has that impacted getting life insurance? Is there any impact with COVID being here and getting life insurance?
That's a really good question. So I think everybody knows that life insurance is based upon mostly your age and your health at the time of the application. So COVID is not one of the questions at this time on the application. So it's not excluded, whether you've had it before, it's not. So it takes a 10 to 15 minutes to apply, a little bit longer to get through the process of the underwriting and things like that. But it's not excluded at this time. Wow. There has been some talk of some life insurance companies suspending, writing life insurance policies earlier in the pandemic, but I don't think any company at this point wants to be known as that company that in a time of crisis is not allowing people to do the thing that will help them take care of their family. Right.
And it's really about thinking smart. And I love what you said earlier about, a lot of times we just don't know what we weren't taught. And I'm glad you mentioned that post because I think when people go into the thinking of generational curses, whenever we hear the word curse, we automatically tense up. We automatically think of something bad and think of something almost irreversible. But that's why I want to shift that language a little bit because yes, there are some, seemingly bad things that we may have learned, but we can change it. And let's look at it as, okay, that's how they were able to survive and their coping methods. But guess what? We can learn some new ways, like taking care of our families, like especially in a pandemic, that if something does happen, that our family is not scrambling around trying to raise funds in order to make sure that we have a decent funeral or make sure that they're going to be okay.
Correct.
I love that you brought that out. Yeah. So moving on, again, we're talking about, being empowered and securing our legacies and really making sure that ourselves and our families are going to be okay. So, we talked about life insurance, but let's switch it up a little bit and talk about just some smart thinking tips on even just our budgets, our money, what are some tips that you would provide to just be practical again, as we go into this new year?
And I pride myself on keeping it real. And you said you like that about me.
Yes.
So I just like to have real straight talk about money. Obviously, a lot of our ideas about money are some of our first experiences with it, whether positive or negative. If we grew up in a family where they were always arguing about money, or families are broken up because of money or lack thereof, or somebody's mishandling of it. So I just try to teach some real practical tips. Like, honestly, it's stuff that's quite available now on the internet. Everybody can Google and read about how to build your credit score and, how to save money on your insurance costs or how to, pay your house off faster. But in the real practical terms, each individual really needs to meet with a professional, so to speak, to kind of see what their needs are. But just, my money tips typically are based around risk, right? Yeah. And so people often overpay for risk, real or imagined. There are some real risks out there that may happen. And so you have to protect yourself. We talk about people may die. You may have a car accident. You may trip and fall. You may be disabled, those kind of things. And so they're not real fun to talk about, but when it comes to saving your money and being able to leave something to the next generation, one single incident can make a family, can wipe out all that you had that was going to leave your legacy. So don't overpay on things that you don't need. So for example, specific strategy, some people are going to unfollow you for this, but like, don't reconsider whether you need rental car reimbursement on your car insurance policy. Reconsider whether you need emergency roadside service. Reconsider whether you need that low deductible. If you're going to file a claim for $500, you know, you stand the chance of losing your discounts and things like that, when everybody should have something. You hear this talked about an emergency fund. I like to call it a deductible fund, but it could be whatever. If you don't have an accident, then you just save money on your premiums. So things like that. And did you need it before it was on sale? That's my other tip. Did you need it before it was on sale? If you didn't, then it's not a bargain, right? A practice I find, and you're in internet marketing, but you get it like, spend $5 more and you get free shipping. And then I look at the shipping, $3.95. So, so I didn't save money by buying more. So just not being caught up in this whole idea of, you know, having to buy. And you use the word budget. I'm like most people that are on your feed. I don't love that word.
Yeah.
But I do love saving my coins, and and figuring out ways to make them work for me. So rather than paying a lot in interest, like paying off credit cards and things that have higher interest rates, I'd rather have it working for me in things that some people will laugh at. But it's true, like even things like CDs, you know, the dividends that come from, you know, whole life insurance policies, things like that. I'd rather have those things working for me than paying interest. And there's plenty of folks out there that I'm sure that you guys follow that that talk about ways to pay down credit cards. I have a few strategies I'll share. Like people say pay down the one with the highest interest rate. But for me, I like to pay down the one that has the lowest balance, because psychologically I can get that off my brain. It's one less thing to do, one less vendor in my automatic bill pay. And then psychologically, I can move on from them. At least for me, that's the way I operate. So those are some strategies, and someone will share those things with you. Some things I like to implement. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I love that you bring that out. And that's one of the things I do always appreciate about you, Stacy, because, you know, your clientele, you know, literally ranges from someone who, you know, from people who may have, you know, a smaller income and, you know, just need very minimal, you know, protection, to people who own businesses and houses. And so I love that you're able to basically give that kind of in the middle, listen, wherever you are, you know, in your life, in your journey, on your path, you have to think smart about what makes sense for you. And that's what I love about it. And what you're saying, you know, there's the working people who may not have a lot, who are, you know, still really trying to get themselves together. It would be great if you're paying off, you know, like you said, the credit cards or the ones that may have the higher interest, but pay them little ones off, because a little $75, you know, thing can do more harm by just sitting there and just sitting there when you could have had that done. And then you can cross that off, and then you feel good, especially if you're on, you know, these, what do you call it? These online ones that send you little, like, you just paid off.
Right. This score went up.
Exactly. You know,
no, it's helpful. It's nice. It's a good feeling. It's a sense of accomplishment. Can I also add what I really wanted to share? Again, I hope I don't sound too risk averse, but I tell people to only insure things you can't afford, things that are going to put you in the poorhouse. So rental car reimbursement, for example, pays up to $900. Do you need insurance for $900? Some days you might. There are days when, listen, I don't have it on a credit card, I don't have it in my checking account, and I need a rental car and I need to get to work. If that's your situation, then have it, but you're still paying for it. If you never need it, you still paid for it. Emergency roadside service, it pays up $100. Like, do you need insurance for $100? So I think it's we've been conditioned, and a lot of people say, oh, well, my uncle said I should get that, and my neighbor said I should have that. But their situation isn't yours. And so save that money. Just save the money. Don't insure things. When I go to the Target and buy a toaster or an item that's $99, I don't buy the warranty for it because I just bought it. I can afford to buy the $99 thing. I don't need a warranty for it. And if it's going to break in less than 3 years, should I be buying it anyway? What you're telling me is that the thing might break on me. So I don't do those things, you know. Even on cars, buying Gap and buying the warranty on a brand new item. Why should I need that? You should be warranting it for me if I'm spending $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 on that item. So those are just some things that, the masses won't tell you. You go in there, the smell of these items, and you get it, and you're just kind of happy and you buy these things. So if somebody wants to, of course, get some more insight from me on these things, you'll share with them how to reach me. But those are just some real world tips that I personally also employ. So I'm just sharing those with folks.
Information is showing right now on the screen. Awesome. Well, before we end, I definitely want you to talk about something else, which is really, really big. So, as everybody knows, I talk a lot about pivoting. I have my show Pivotal Moments. And I remember you made a post and I was like, oh, I can't wait till we get together to talk about this, because you brought out an excellent point. Everybody has had to pivot. All, my mompreneurs, my entrepreneurs, my kidpreneurs out here, doing it big and pivoting and starting their own businesses and writing books and starting photography careers and all.
Yeah.
But you brought out a good point. Now that you've pivoted and you're doing these amazing things, you have to think about protecting this new business or this new item or this new amazing camera that you just bought. So talk about that. What are some tips that you want to give to all these people, which is a great thing, everybody's pivoting, but what are some things they should be keeping in mind when it comes again about protecting themselves for no matter what the world brings us in these crazy times?
Right. Thank you for bringing that up. So first of all, let me say, I have been impressed. I've been inspired, personally motivated by some of the shifts that I've seen in the small business marketplace. Some of the folks are already my clients, so I'm proud of them. People have gone from brick and mortar to working from home to pop-up shops. So going, having people come to them, to going mobile. And I'm talking everything from, hair to butters and food services, delivery kits, events. They've gotten smaller, but they're still happening. So my share with everyone is that please make sure that you understand the difference in the risk. So for example, if you had a brick and mortar location at 123 Main Street and you had insurance there and it's now out of your home, you need to let the insurance company know that your business is now at XYZ Main Street, right? Now you've got $3,000 worth of inventory in your basement. That's not covered under your homeowner's insurance, right? So make sure you're having those discussions. And that's even unfinished goods. So say you have the fabric or the shea butter or the boxes for the soap or whatever it is, or the hair products, those things are not protected, or if they're in transit, they're in the trunk of your car and you're going to what used to be maybe a show, but maybe now you're doing like a virtual vending event or something like that. Food, that's huge now. I know that industry is suffering. And so my applause to anyone who's been able to pivot in that environment. Many are going from, I used to have only pickup or people will come to me or I served in my restaurant. Now we're shipping, sometimes all across the country. That's a completely different risk. What happens if your things don't get there, or if they break? I actually sent food, drinks from a local vendor here that I know and admire, and I sent them to my friend. The glasses were busted by the time they got to her. So she had insurance for that. So because she's a smart businesswoman. But for some of those folks who are pivoting, I'm just recommending that you think about those things. So proud of everybody for doing it. Maybe you had employees, now you don't. So your workers' compensation premium should come down. Maybe you didn't have employees, now you have 5. You need to make that adjustment based on what your business is doing. And I know it's tough because everybody's busy and kids are at home and you're working from home, but you have to take that moment, because one little incident, and I've seen it, I've had to call some clients who, one piece of paper, one wrong information on some forms, you've created a liability that could take away from your generational wealth, right? Your kids won't get all that money that you worked for because somebody else is taking it from you. We don't want that to happen to anybody. So those are some of my key takeaways about small business. But that's my passion right there. So you got me on that one. So anybody who has the guts and the courage to put their sign out or their shingle out, old school terminology, but put their shingle out, I applaud you. But please do what it takes to make sure you understand your risk.
Yeah. And Stacy, I know that you primarily work in specific, demographics or jurisdiction in the area, but people that are watching, if they just want to ask some general questions, can they
Mhm.
contact you? Why don't you provide your information if they want to just have like a brief little, question where you can maybe, if you can't assist them, you can maybe direct them somewhere. Where would you like them to
Absolutely.
contact you?
Absolutely. So my name is Stacy Tucker. If anybody needs to begin, I own an insurance agency in Northern Virginia, but I consider myself much more than that. Like she said, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a small business consultant. You can reach me on Instagram at Stacy Insures Me, Facebook.com/Stacy Insures Me, LinkedIn.com//Stacy Insures Me. Let me say that together. LinkedIn.com/Stacy Insures Me, or via email at Stacy@StacyTuckerInsurance.com. Stacy@StacyTuckerInsurance.com. I'm happy to spend time answering questions. And, I'm licensed in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, but most of these business practices are valid all across the country, maybe across the world, but I can't speak, internationally.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Stacey, thank you. And everybody, as you can see, this is exactly the type of thing that I'm excited about bringing you as we move into 2021. Stacey is going to be one of the people that is a part of my growing network. So stay tuned for more information about that, because again, my mission is to honor, empower, and refresh. And I really want women out there, women and girls, knowing that they can be empowered to make these good decisions that will benefit themselves now in the future, and they're also those that come behind them. So Stacey, thank you for taking time out. I know we'll be doing some more of these as we go forward. And yeah, I think that's a wrap.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. All right, we'll see you later, guys.